Dewayne Harris never thought that an ordinary afternoon could turn into a nightmare. As a software engineer living in Aurora, Colorado, he had spent the entire week working hard and finally had some free time to treat himself to his favorite coffee at a café near the shopping center. He drove his BMW X5 to the parking lot, found an empty spot, and stepped out. For Dewayne, this car was the result of years of hard work. He remembered the day he bought it, a big decision, but also a symbol of his success. However, in the eyes of some people, it seemed like he didn't deserve it. He walked into the cafe, ordered his usual espresso, and found a seat by the window. At the table next to him, a young couple was also enjoying their coffee, chatting animatedly. "Wow, did you see that BMW X5 outside? It's gorgeous," the woman said excitedly. "Yeah, it really is. The color is stunning. The owner must be a successful businessman or some kind of high roller," the man chuckled, admiration evident in his eyes. They continued discussing the car, marveling at its design and features. But just then they noticed Dewayne getting up, walking outside, pulling out his key and unlocking the BMW X5. The admiration on the man's face quickly turned into confusion. "Wait a second, did you see that? That guy just opened the car," he muttered, lowering his voice but filled with suspicion. "Yeah, so? Maybe it's his car," the woman replied, not yet understanding his concern. "No way, look at him. Old hoodie, faded jeans. Does he look like someone who owns a BMW X5? What if he's trying to break into it?" Dewayne had no idea that the couple was watching him. He simply opened his car door, pulled out a portable charger, and started charging his phone. But to the man in the cafe, this simple action was a red flag. "I don't think that's his car. What if he just broke in?" the man continued suspiciously. "Come on, you're overreacting," the woman frowned, though she too was starting to look uneasy. Unable to contain his curiosity, the man stood up and quickly walked toward the door. As Dewayne re-entered the cafe with his charger in hand, the man blocked his path. "Hey, buddy," the man called out, his tone carrying a slight challenge. Dewayne frowned. "What's up?" "Just curious. That BMW X5 outside, is it yours?" Dewayne looked at him, clearly uncomfortable. "Yes, it is. Is there a problem?" The man smirked. "Really? Can you prove it? Show me the registration or something." A tense silence filled the cafe. Some customers turned their heads, sensing the confrontation. Dewayne couldn't believe that a complete stranger was demanding proof just because he opened his own car. "I don't have to prove anything to you," Dewayne replied, his voice lowering with irritation. "Oh, really?" the man scoffed. "If it's really yours, why hesitate? It's a simple question. I don't owe you an answer. Are you a cop or something?" Dewayne's tone hardened, his eyes dark with frustration. "No, but I'm a responsible citizen. I can't just turn a blind eye when something seems off." The man crossed his arms, looking smug. "If that really is your car, why not just show me the registration?" "And what if I refuse?" Dewayne shot back, a sharp smile of disbelief on his face. "Then I'm calling the police. And if you've got nothing to hide, you shouldn't have a problem, right?" The woman grabbed her boyfriend's arm, whispering, "Don't make a scene. This has nothing to do with us." But the man ignored her. "Do you even realize what you're doing?" Dewayne let out a cold chuckle. "You're accusing an innocent man just because you don't think he looks like someone who should own that car. That's called prejudice." "No, I'm just being careful. If the police come and confirm it's yours, I'll apologize. But if I'm right, then I just stopped a car theft." Dewayne could feel the weight of the stares around him. This wasn't the first time he had been wrongly suspected, but each time it happened, the humiliation felt just as heavy. He took a deep breath, deciding to ignore the man and walk away. But what he didn't know was that the man had already pulled out his phone and was calling the police. A police car screeched to a stop right in front of him, two officers quickly stepping out. Their hands rested near their weapons, their eyes filled with suspicion. "Freeze! Hands up!" a sharp voice commanded. Dewayne froze. He couldn't believe what was happening. "What's going on?" he asked, his voice calm but tense. "You just stepped out of that BMW X5, correct?" the taller officer asked, his tone far from friendly. "Yes, that's my car," Dewayne replied, starting to feel uneasy. But that answer wasn't accepted. "Get on your knees, hands behind your head," the other officer ordered. Dewayne's mouth fell open. What was happening? He hadn't done anything wrong. "I don't understand. What did I do wrong? This is my car," he protested. But his words didn't matter. One officer shoved him to the ground, pressed a knee into his back, while the other officer snapped handcuffs onto his wrists. Dewayne felt the humiliation burning inside him as onlookers paused to watch. A woman shook her head, a couple whispered to each other, but no one spoke up. "You're hurting me. I'm not resisting." Dewayne gritted his teeth, trying to stay calm but unable to hide his frustration. "Shut up," the officer barked back. A middle-aged man standing nearby frowned but then shook his head and turned away. No one intervened. No one questioned what was really happening. "You are under suspicion for driving a stolen vehicle," one of the officers stated. "What?" "This is my car. I have the registration inside," Dewayne shouted, his voice filled with disbelief. "We received a report that a BMW X5 was recently stolen, and you look suspicious," the officer said, pausing before his last word. Suspicious. Dewayne had heard that word too many times in his life, not because he had done anything wrong, but simply because he was a black man driving a luxury car. "Can I get my registration from the car to prove it?" Dewayne asked, trying to keep his composure. "Do you think we're stupid? Once a report is made, we have to investigate thoroughly," the other officer interjected. "A report from who? Who told you I stole a car?" Dewayne's eyes burned with anger. There was no immediate response. But then a voice rang out from the café. "I did. I don't think he could possibly own that car." The white man, who had confronted Dewayne earlier, stepped forward, arms crossed confidently. "You think? So because of what you think, I get treated like a criminal?" Dewayne gritted his teeth. "I was just doing the right thing. If you actually own it, then there's nothing to worry about." The man shrugged. "Really? You think calling the police, making me kneel on the ground, treating me like a criminal is nothing to worry about?" Dewayne snapped, his eyes burning with rage. "I just wanted to make sure no crime was happening. If I'm wrong, I'll apologize." The man remained unfazed. Dewayne couldn't believe the absurdity unfolding before him. He was on his knees, handcuffed by the police, just because a stranger didn't believe a black man could own a luxury car. "Do you think an apology is enough? You humiliated me in front of everyone just because you refuse to accept that a black man can drive a BMW," Dewayne shouted. But it wasn't over yet. One of the officers started running the license plate through their system. His expression slowly changed as the registered owner's name appeared, matching the name on Dewayne's driver's license. Sir, it looks like this car actually belongs to him," the officer muttered to his colleague. Both officers looked at each other, unsure how to respond. Dewayne smirked, though anger still boiled inside him. "I told you, this is my car, so now who's going to apologize to me?" The white man pressed his lips together, avoiding eye contact. He had nothing to say. "Hey, we cuffed him by mistake. Let him go," the officer finally said, but no apology was offered. The officers removed the handcuffs, but the humiliation remained. Dewayne stood up, dusting off his clothes, his eyes filled with disappointment. He looked at the white man once more, then turned to the officers. "You were wrong, and I won't let this go unnoticed." The officer avoided his gaze, responding with a short, indifferent remark. "We were just following procedure." Dewayne let out a cold, bitter laugh. "Procedure. Following procedure means pointing a gun at an innocent man. Following procedure means handcuffing me, pinning me to the ground before checking any evidence. If this is your procedure, then it is a broken one." The officer said nothing, simply averting his eyes. There was no apology, no trace of remorse on his face. Dewayne turned to the couple. The man lowered his head, refusing to speak. The woman beside him, unable to hide her discomfort, glanced around as if searching for an escape from the awkward situation. "You called the police without reason. I hope you understand the consequences of that action," Dewayne said, his voice cold and firm. The white man remained silent. A light breeze passed by, but it could not erase the heavy tension in the air. A woman nearby suddenly spoke up. "He's right. I saw everything. He didn't do anything wrong, yet he was treated like a criminal." Murmurs began spreading through the crowd. A middle-aged man shook his head. "We've seen this happen too many times. They always act like this, but this time we can't stay silent." Dewayne walked towards his car, but just as he reached for the door handle, he stopped and turned back to the officer. "I will report this incident. You failed to verify the facts before taking action. If I had resisted, I could have been shot. Did you ever think about that? Or do you only care about exerting power over those you deem unworthy?" One of the officers opened his mouth as if to respond, but quickly shut it. They all knew there would be consequences this time. Moments later, several bystanders pulled out their phones, recording the incident and uploading it to social media. The outrage spread like wildfire. "This is why we can't trust this system. An innocent man was handcuffed just because he's black and drives a BMW. How many more times will this happen before something changes?" Within hours, the story had gone viral, catching the attention of major news outlets and online activists. The hashtag Justice for Dewayne began trending on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, with millions of shares. The company where the white man worked quickly released a statement announcing his immediate termination due to racial discrimination. Their official statement read, "We do not tolerate any form of discrimination within our organization. The actions displayed in this incident do not reflect the values we uphold. The employee in question has been terminated immediately." His swift firing triggered even greater scrutiny of the police department. The public did not just demand an apology, they wanted real accountability from law enforcement. The two officers were not spared. Under mounting pressure from the public and human rights organizations, an internal investigation was launched. Reports confirmed that they had abused their authority, failed to follow proper investigative procedures, and displayed clear racial bias. Within a week, both officers were suspended, and soon after, they were dismissed from the force. That evening, a national news broadcast dedicated a special segment to the case. Experts analyzed every detail of the video, emphasizing that if Dewayne had made even a single wrong move, the situation could have ended in tragedy. A live debate between human rights activists and police representatives erupted, with pointed questions about systemic racism within law enforcement. Dewayne said nothing more. He watched the unfolding consequences in silence before getting into his car and driving away. But this time he knew that the truth had come to light, and justice had been served.